Hello fellow woodworkers and welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop, and in this week's video we're going to be making a box to store my running numbers. Roll the intro. So fellow woodworkers, as I've mentioned previously on the Garage Workshop, one of the other things that I do apart from the Garage Workshop is running. I'm quite a keen runner and I do quite a lot of runs. I try and run at least one weekend, and every time I run I get one of these, which is a running number, and I like to keep these as a sort of souvenir of the runs I've done, and I put the time that I finished on them. But I've now done quite a few runs and I've got quite a collection of these running bibs or running numbers, and I've got nowhere to store them. So I want to do a really simple project this week where I can just make a little box to put my running numbers in. Now, I don't want to go for anything too fancy. I want to try and do something that is really straightforward, really basic joinery and easy to do, but I am going to try and set myself a limit on the amount of resources and wooden things I use, and also I'm going to try and do this in as few tools as possible. In fact, I think I might try and only make it on my table saw, but we'll see if that happens. So let's measure it up and get started. So the first step was obviously cutting the wood on the table saw. I'm just going to give a shout out to my new table saw arrangement. Having the table saw this high in the air has literally changed my life in terms of using my table saw. I'm super pleased with it being up there. So after a while I did manage to get all of the pieces flat and a straight edge. Okay, so I've got the board cut and I have measured this running number. This is actually slightly larger than the other ones I've got, which is why I've used it as a template. And the measurements are, it's 22 centimeters across and 20 centimeters high. Now, I want to leave a little bit of a gap either side. I'm going to leave 2 centimeters, so I'm going to leave a gap one side and the other, just for the other thing that I've got in mind that I might try and do. I'm not going to say too much in case it ends up not making the final cut, but now I've got the wood cut, I can measure it and make the box. Now, this is going to be slightly more difficult to join together because obviously it's MDF, and joining MDF, I never find joining MDF to be very easy. So I am going to possibly look at a different way of joining this all together. But the first thing to do is mark out this piece of wood, run it through the table saw again and cut it down to the right size. So I really took my time when I was marking this out. I do look a bit cock-handed there, I appreciate that, but I had spent a lot of time making sure that the wood was absolutely square, which I'd done off camera, because for me the most important thing about this was getting everything equal, sort of on both sides. So I did make sure that that piece of wood was exactly sort of the right length as it was breadth, etc. But when I had the lines marked out, I went over them, so I gave myself a good reference point to cut on the table saw, which I did. And you can see from this video how much dust is produced by a table saw. There was just dust everywhere in the Garage Workshop, just floating in the air. So that's why I can see while I'm marking here, you can see I've still got my mask on because I could see there were lots of particles. So when that was done, again, it was back to the marking, just making sure everything was exactly as it should be before moving on to the next stage, which was cutting everything on the miter saw. Again, I really took my time here, and you can see there I used one of the pieces of wood as the sort of marker for the other one to make sure they were exactly the same. Got a couple of new camera angles as well, not intentional, I have to say, but you can see just the time I'm taking that I wanted to get everything as precise as I could. When it was time to glue up, I just started with one side, I glued that, and I used these homemade clamps that I 3D printed. This was actually a long time ago I printed these. These are super accurate and super useful. So I just glued this one side, and as you can see there's no other fixing, there's no brad nails or anything, and I left it overnight. to dry because I wanted to make sure it had a proper amount of time to dry. Then it was time to start with my new way of fixing, which was using dowels. I didn't realise how much the camera was jiggling when I was drilling, so apologies, hopefully no one's having motion sickness. But basically what I did was I drilled the hole through the top and bottom, filled it with glue, and then I got these little pine sort of dowels. They're tiny, these pine dowels. I almost forgot to put the wood glue in, but I didn't. And I got these little tiny dowels. I will tell you a funny story about those dowels in a minute. It will make you laugh. And then when it was in place, I literally just tapped it down a bit. And then I was able to put the rest of the fixings in, which you can see me doing. So these dowels I bought on Temu, and I bought them expecting to be a lot bigger than they were. I thought they were sort of 20, or no, I think they were 40 mil wide, and they're something like 4 mil wide, typical Temu issue. Then I left it to glue again, dried it overnight, came back, just cut them off, flushed them off, and then I just used a sanding block. And it was at this point I realised I had a little bit of glue spill, so I just took that out with a sander, and I attached the second side in the exact same way that you'd see me attach the first slide. Here, I actually was really pleased because it was apparent that the box was exactly the way it should be. So I just popped a clamp on there just to help keep it all together, a sort of longer clamp. And again, the key was just giving plenty of time for the glue to dry, which I did. This was the next day, and as you can see, obviously we're already on 3 days. So this was the next day, and I just used my little right-angled metal thing that I use for my table saw, my miter saw, just to make sure that they were right. Now this time I did try to sort of cheat here and drill the holes without them being sat on the box. Had I done that, I wouldn't have made the mistake which I did make. Was obviously I drilled the top 2 holes too far. They were sort of hanging over, and you can see in the box on the right hand side that strip was the same width as the piece of wood that I'm drilling, and it was just to make sure the size didn't sort of cave in at all when I was doing the when I was sort of fixing them in. It didn't actually end up staying there, but again I just repeated the process that you saw. The camera hadn't coped. I hadn't clocked that happened, and this time I'd already pre-cut the dowels a little bit thinner. Now here you can see some of the wood glue leaking out. That's because the edge of the dowel had literally just pierced a little bit of the MDF. That happened somewhere inside the box as well. I'll reference that at the end, which wasn't an issue because obviously inside the box you're not going to end up seeing it. So I did exactly the same thing. Had made a bit of a fatal mistake here, and wonder if any of you have picked up on it so far. I didn't put any glue here on this seal, so this was actually only fixed initially with these dowels. I'd forgotten to glue that side. So what I did was I used a clamp, slightly pulled it apart, and I actually managed to get a little bead of glue in there, and then I clamped it up and left it overnight to dry, and it sort of filled the gap between. But what I actually did was use a combination of clamps to put pressure in the right place, and you can also see on the right hand side there the MDF corner is a little bit rough. Again, I reference that in a minute, and you can see the holes that I drilled in the wrong place by trying to be too clever and doing things not in the correct order. So when I'd taken these off with my little Parkside pull saw, which is a fantastic bit of kit, they're always in, they've had them in recently. When I got to that stage, I just literally gave the entire box a sand all the way over to take off the burn marks, to take off any spilt glue, anything at all like that. I just sort of basically knocked it back, took out this bit on the inside. I don't know what that was. I thought it was wood glue at first, but it wasn't. So I knocked the entire thing back. Then I went back over, and here I ran out of footage. The camera stopped and I hadn't realised because there was so much noise, but I set the trenching function on my miter saw. So all it's doing is making like a 2mm cut the width of the kerf of the blade. And I did this on both pieces. What I did was put them end to end and put the pencil marks, and then just ran it through. But as I said, the camera's memory card had actually got filled up, and I hadn't clocked it. I didn't hear it beep and go off, so this footage is going to cut out. But basically, I just did exactly the same thing that you can see here on this piece of wood and on the second piece of wood. It was then just a case of sticking them in, which I did just with a little bit of double-sided sticky tape on the back, and I'll explain at the end why I did that. And then I just got a little bit of cardboard, cut the right way to test it, and then I put the number in, and the project was finished. So, fellow woodworkers, the project is finished, and as you can see, the box is exactly as I wanted it to be. Now, on the inside, these two pieces of wood, which are sort of the guides, I haven't affixed them permanently. I've actually just put some double-sided sticky tape. The reason I've done that is if I decide that the guides aren't, the hole needs making bigger, or if I want to adjust them in any way, at the moment I can't if I stick them in completely with glue. So I've just temporarily stuck them with double-sided sticky tape, but the 3M sticky tape I use is really strong, so that shouldn't be an issue. So overall, how do I feel about the project? Well, I have to say I am really pleased with the joinery, including the dowels that you will have seen. I know it's really basic, but if you've watched a lot of Garage Workshop videos, you'll know that's not something that I do a lot. This is only about the second or third time that I've done it, and it does mean there's no screws or anything like that. And actually, the holes that I've put in and the dowels that I've put through, I'm really super pleased with all the way round. They do look really neat. Now, the box is not perfect. Obviously, it's the Garage Workshop. It wouldn't be. There are a couple of little bits of MDF, particularly on this corner. The corner just completely snapped off, but I think I'm either going to put something on the top here when it comes to decorating it, or I might round those off. I haven't sort of quite decided what I'm going to do yet, but as it is now, it's perfectly able to do the job that I set out to do, which is to store my running numbers. I'm able to put different slots in it. As you saw in the video, I just used a piece of cardboard, but I'm actually going to 3D print some thin sort of dividers to go in there, because the width of the slot is just the width of the kerf of the blade on my miter saw. So that I do need to sort of address, but I can print them out. I can print them out with a little tab that will slide in and out on the 3D printer, which I am going to do. So overall, really pleased. Couple of things. The main one being I should have put the sort of gouge it. No, that's not the right word. I should have put the lines that are here on the bottom as well, just to help the guide, sort of the divider, go, because at the moment it's just going straight to the bottom. What I should have done is sort of continue those guidelines across the bottom. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, in one place where I drilled the dowel through, I must have had the drill on a slight angle, and when I hit the dowel through, it actually came through the inside. But I was able, because those dowels are only pine, I was able to sand it flat, and B, you can't see it anyway because it's covered. So really super pleased. Really basic project, but one of the advantages of changing my recording and uploading schedule is I've had plenty of time to work on this, and I think it's a much better quality product. So let me know in the comments what you think. Again, really basic, could be made with really simple hand tools. So that's the end of this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please can I ask you to subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell, and look at my back catalogue of videos. I've got lots and lots of videos on there. If you are a regular subscriber, again, please don't forget to comment, hit the like, tell me what you think of the box, and I'll catch you on the next edition of the Garage Workshop. Take care, fellow woodworkers.